This is a presentation of DirecTV, exclusive home of the Red Zone channel, the Fantasy Zone, the Dan Patrick Show, 20 years of NFL Sunday Ticket, the Rich Eisen Show, and America's premier source for sports television.
There is a fifth dimension beyond what is known to man, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind. You've just crossed over into the box score zone.
You got your timer?
Yeah, I got it.
What's the matter?
I don't know. I just don't know when you're joking and when you're not. I don't know. I just, maybe I take it too personally.
Just get in the box, all right?
Every time I try to do something and then, I try to make a funny joke or I mock headlines or, I'm booking all these guests and then all I hear is, all the stuff I'm not doing. And then, it just gets tiring for, all these years. And, Todd, I thought we had a great relationship. And then, I always have stomach issues and it's just after a while, I can't take it.
Mr. Dan Patrick, host of a well-listened to radio show, has just transformed into the exact thing he has never wanted to become. A person who uses the confinements of this box to vent about things that do not matter. And on a day not dissimilar to this one, on a channel very similar to the one you're currently watching, the box score starts now.
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer.
My motto is simple: C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you, because I probably am.
Howard Collins for box score.
Okay, hello and welcome to the box score. I'm Brock in Los Angeles, joined by the Danettes out in Milford, Connecticut. A rocky start this morning, McLovin. Why weren't you guys in mid-tour boy band form? Start the show.
Oh, I don't know that there was, the show seemed fine. Was there anything on the outside that seemed untoward? I thought, I was late to the show today, but I felt like we got it off to a good start.
I'm going to side with Brock here, and as much as I like soccer, but when Dan pulled out that sheet of paper and went to a soccer story in the tail end of the first segment, I'm like, wow, this is like a 8th tier story that Dan went with early, and it ended up being a really funny bit and ended up being great, but it was shocking that he went to that story so early.
That was interesting. One man that was out of form was Fritzy Fatone, and the boss jumped all over him because of it.
World Cup matches, to escape the Qatar heat, they might start at 1 in the morning. The average temperature, I think, is around 108 degrees. Do you imagine how many guys are going to be falling? You won't even have to fake injuries. Like, you will be dehydrated. Yeah, Fritzy.
So is that the new definition for flop sweat?
Yeah.
No?
Maybe you should have thought about that a little bit longer.
What about as opposed to what? What's the other, what am I missing with flop sweat?
Like players flopping. I was just playing off flopping and sweat.
Yeah, I've never heard the term flop sweat before. So, is that like a flop sweat? Okay, so what's the comparison here that I'm missing as opposed to flop sweat? It's like, what? And then, flop sweat's a real thing? I'd never heard of that, so I was trying to get Fritzy to clarify what he meant by his joke, and for some reason he just wouldn't go there, and I didn't understand. That's what really, sort of, all of a sudden, we crushed him for 5 minutes, and all he had to do was say, oh, well, flop sweat's like a nervous sweat, right?
Yeah, the problem was I didn't know what the exact definition was. I knew it was a term, so that's why I didn't offer up a definition, because I didn't know what the definition exactly was. But
not exactly, but you didn't say anything. I assumed everyone knew the term flop sweat, and I was misguided in thinking that was a more common term.
I have to be honest,
than it was.
I thought that everyone understood what flop sweat was, but just thought it was a bad joke. And I thought, well, a lot of these are not great. So I didn't know why this one stood out as any worse, because I knew flop sweat. It really wasn't that great.
I'm going to back up Fritzy here. I knew what flop sweat means. It just wasn't funny.
Yes, that's where I thought we were headed with that one.
Even when I'm backed up, I still get a little
But
smack
now
at
that
the
Seton
end.
says that, it makes perfect sense. That totally explains when Seton said that. Now, so Fritzy should have said, oh, flop sweat, the term flop sweat. And that might have explained it. Now, we were just on two ships passing in totally different directions.
Which is a great way to start the show.
Yeah, I can't believe
it's all uphill.
I can't believe that was the first segment. I figured that was buried in like the last part of an hour.
That's always the lead story on a show like The Box Score. Well, an embattled Fritzy was not going to sit there and take it, and he went into the box to fire some shots back at his coworkers today.
All right. You may say that I got off to a rocky start with the show, but I'm going to stand by, even though I didn't have a definition standing by from the Merriam-Webster family for flop sweat. I thought that was a clever line. I misjudged the intelligence of the rest of the group and thought they had heard the term flop sweat before.
Oh.
But I didn't even know what the definition was.
Those aren't even veiled shots. That's the strongest Fritzy gets. Fritzy likes to take it to extremes when he gets made fun of. Like, I did have the Merriam-Webster dictionary in front of me. Well, you don't necessarily have to make a joke that's a broad reference. And then he said we're not intelligent because we didn't get the joke, which is interesting that he said that.
Would flop sweat be in the Merriam-Webster dictionary? More like the Urban Dictionary online. I'm not sure. Maybe it would be.
Could
it might
be
not be in
Dictionary.
It might not be in the actual dictionary.
I found a bunch of other things in the Urban Dictionary, which
plus phrases aren't in dictionaries.
Yeah, that's what. So anyway, maybe you're not as intelligent as you thought you were.
I guess I'm not very bright at all.
One person who wasn't sweating was A.J. Green, but he maybe sweated a little bit when Dan turned up the heat and made him sort of scramble around for some answers.
Who's the best receiver in the game?
I don't know, man. It's a lot of them. I feel like, the guys like the Marys and Calvin, Larry, Julio. It's just, they all bring something different to the table, man. And just, I really can't say.
Okay, but if I took you out of it, who's the receiver that you would actually watch on TV? Like, you would stop and watch him on TV? And don't say all of them.
I don't know, man. That's tough. It's tough. I don't know.
Oh, come on.
I don't know. I honestly can't tell you who I'll watch.
I'm like Richard Sherman right now in your face on this.
Yeah, I can't answer that. I don't know.
Something I don't understand about athletes is that either they have a hard time saying that they're the best, or they have a hard time saying that someone's better than them. So either way, they just don't want to talk about that kind of thing because it's like their ego can't handle it. That being said, I didn't know anything about A.J. Green's personality, and he was awesome. I was shocked at how much fun he had. He was kind of sneaky funny, great sense of humor, a lot of laughs in there. And even just in avoiding all of these, it seemed like every topic was uncomfortable for him. He still managed to provide a fun interview, which is a unique skill.
And I could see if he was a defensive back where he doesn't want to single out a certain receiver because he's playing a lot of these guys and doesn't want to, make any waves by picking one over the other. But it was odd that someone could have, come across with such great personality and avoid that question. And he also wouldn't get into he's an alum of Georgia and wouldn't touch the Todd Gurley topic as well. But in spite of not answering either of those questions from Dan, he still came across likable, and I'm sure it's someone we would.
Well, let's experiment with it here because we all think our show is the best sports radio show on television, obviously.
Definitely.
What do you guys think is the best sports radio show, nationwide, locally, whatever? Whoever wants to go first. I'll go first. I like Dan Le Batard's show. I find his to be very original and entertaining, and that doesn't mean I don't like other shows, but of course, you got to pick one.
Wait. So you're ruling the Dan Patrick Show out? Sorry, I was confused. Oh, you can't pick the Dan Patrick Show. Okay.
I would assume you would.
Yes, Scott. Yeah, of course, the Dan Patrick Show.
So let's rule it out.
So you're going with Le Batard. Man, I like Le Batard, and I like our buddies at SVP.
You got to pick one.
I'm going to go with the SVP, Scott Van Pelt and Russillo's show.
I was leaning to, I'm not crazy about any of the other shows, and I try not to listen to them too much because then it gets in the back of your head, and subconsciously you may say or do something that could mimic what you may have heard on another show. But I'll listen sometimes in the morning to Evan and Phillips. If I had to pick one, I find
ringing endorsement.
Some of that entertaining.
I actually think this might be not a popular pick here in the studio, but I actually think Mike and Mike are great at what they do. Because it's just like it's an entertaining show. It's not the most controversial thing. They don't hammer you with these like, whoa, I can't believe that one of the mics said that or whatever. But for the morning and what they do, and how successful it is, I think they have a really great show.
Yeah, they get roughed up sometimes, but here and there. But their listenership proves that people must like them.
Their listenership is gigantic.
Plus,
they're making a fortune.
Yeah, and the job of getting up at 4 in the morning and being entertaining and upbeat at 6 in the morning. I look at Mike and Mike kind of like a good diner in your hometown that's open every day at 5 a.m. till noon. And they're not going to win Zagat Awards, but you know what? They're there every day. You count on them. They're always good. They're always the same thing on the menu.
I'm going to have to go with NPR, not for the sports, just for the pure entertainment of Robert Siegel. Fritzy, Dan said you were the best booker in the world today. How about that? Do you believe him?
Nice. Yeah, you got to be confident in your abilities. Again, I'm not, as these guys know, I'm not one to, although I've recited my resume on many, many occasions over the years, directly and indirectly. It's for other people to judge how well you are at your job. I've always felt that way. You don't, you can be confident and feel good about, what you're doing without having to, put it on a poster or spread, verbally to the world what you think of yourself. I just, I think that's arrogant. If you pose the question, in all honesty, then
is that a yes? I'm totally.
The answer is yeah. I feel like I'm the best in the business, but I don't like those kind of questions. That's for other people to analyze how someone else is doing their job.
Well, this has been a very dramatic opening segment. Stay with us because after the break, it is the debut of the Dan Patrick Players, and then things get super duper dramatic. Welcome back to the box score. Dan was mentioning today that he used to be in a pretty horrible mood consistently back at the mothership. Seton, are there any legendary stories regarding that?
Oh, dear. Man, I don't know. The only thing I can say that to me really exemplified Dan's headspace was when we would send him like an email with like, hey man, can I do here are 5 things that I think we should do, and in your mind, do you think you're revolutionizing the business by sending Dan these things? And he wrote back, do you have my Dallas itinerary?
Oh.
And you're like, yeah, but you just couldn't test these things. I used to go upstairs and bring him his prep every day, yes. And at the first time I did it, I knocked on the door, and he sort of was on one of these chairs and opened it, and I could tell he had swung, and he looked at my face, looked at that, grabbed it and closed the door, and then just sort of went back. And after that, I just slid it under the door. I don't need to actually make sure you got it. I'm just going to slide it under there for you.
Yeah, I was a big door slider as well. I woke Dan up. He was sleeping on the ground on a pile of coats. And so I guess you think, it's funny because you think of Dan as this, when I got there, Dan was at his peak of fame at ESPN. I was like, I can't believe I'm working with Dan Patrick. I was so, not intimidated, but enthralled about it, I guess. Yeah. I went up to his office, and there's a pile of winter coats and old baseball jerseys, and he curled up in a ball, sleeping on it, wearing a t-shirt and pants, like an undershirt, white t-shirt and pants. There's stuff all over the place. And this is one of the biggest stars in the sports media world. And I was like, all right, it's kind of a reality check, but that shows that his life was on the air, looked fantastic, but he was working 14-hour days, and I don't know anybody who likes working 14-hour days, no matter what you do. If your job was to count out money to yourself for 14 hours, I'm bored off my ass, or I got to get some free time.
What was the day, Paulie? Just to clarify.
He would get in at 10 a.m. He would prep, go and then prep for the Sports Center. This is when he did the 11 o'clock Sports Center. Then he would do
Radio 1 to 4.
Radio 1 to 4. Then from 4 until 11. He had nothing to do except for get ready for Sports Center. It didn't take Dan 7 hours to get ready for an 11 o'clock Sports Center. It took him about 2. So he had to go to his office and nap, do work, go get something to eat, which you can't really leave campus to go out to a meal every day. And he's not going to drive an hour back and forth to home. So he's kind of in this weird limbo of not having enough work to do, but also not having any free time.
Well, how about we all take a trip down the grumpy memory lane and look at your reenactment of a true story.
The Dan Patrick Show players present a 2005 Dan Patrick Show morning meeting.
Thanks.
I'll be playing the role of Dan. Ready? Scene.
All right, so lead guest today, AJ Green.
Why are we having AJ Green today? He's hurt.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's big, arguably.
What else? What else?
I have some great numbers on DeMarco Murray's carries and the progressions and what's going to happen if the Cowboys keep playing him at this level.
What else?
I'm thinking of getting a sex change operation.
Joe Montana.
Yeah, my Dallas itinerary.
What about?
That not only is, not exaggerated, it's actually kind of muted.
Oh,
if you
I would
stretch
say very
that out over a 20-minute patch of time and add in about 20 awkward silences, and those morning meetings were the least favorite part of my day.
Oh, they were the worst. And not only did it happen and it was just painful, but it happened in front of lots of other colleagues there. We would have our meetings in a very visible place, that there are cubicles and things like that. Geez. So everybody saw us just dying there, and we're like, please, Lord, can something just take?
And once all the ideas have been thrown out, and he's still kind of saying, what else you got? And we're all looking at each other like, we've really given you everything that we have. And then with the ones that he did like the most, we got something back like, all right, I don't see how we're going to talk about that for 3 hours.
Right.
It was like,
yeah. Okay, so that's the first 5 minutes of the show.
Right. The other thing, Seton did this, I did this. We'd print up a packet of prep, and it was anywhere from 10 to 50 pages of stories. Sometimes Dan would look at it and go like this, like, all right, what do you want to talk? What are the topics today?
Yeah,
and he'd literally throw it. And
I just spent 3 hours on that thing, and you're like, yeah, okay. So
I did learn, though, after about a month, to always have a back pocket story. Like, I would have my pitches of stories. Then I'd have like a wild card story, like, hey, there's a school in Los Angeles who's not letting a girl play with the men's basketball team, and she was, because you never know. That may be the one he goes, yep, that's it. And so you always got to have that back pocket, what can I bail myself out with here?
Yeah,
story.
By the way, there was a hidden tension amongst the Danettes. I didn't want to say this, but somebody was stepping in my territory during that Dan Patrick Players bit.
Me playing Dan?
Oh, boy.
Seton, would you care to fill in Paulie on?
It actually wasn't during that bit. It started in that bit, but it carried over into the next
Seton had to toss me off the ledge.
Where I asked Andrew if he was feeling a little heat, maybe a little competition. Paul, would you care to...
This is not a good development in any way.
All of a sudden, there was another guy with glasses on the show, and Andrew McLovin-Perloff was not liking it at all. I'm the glasses guy, and Paulie's really getting into my territory.
I was. You can actually see me like steam coming out of my ear because Paulie wore them. Didn't take them off in the next segment. He just explained that he wanted to see things. Paul, I see what you're doing here.
I think we should look back here and take a look at something that was said in an all too natural fashion.
I'm thinking of getting a sex change operation. 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 Yeah, I was fully aware when I said that was going to be fodder for box score, but I was amazed. I'm like, I got to test Paulie to see if I can make him flap in the middle of this. Nothing.
No.
I mean, that was pure on Dan. Nothing. I was like, actually, I'm a little scared of Paulie playing Dan right now. I was a little scared.
When I heard McLovin say that, I'm like, I don't know what to say here. I'm actually going to say nothing and get up and walk away. I figured that would be the only way to work that one.
Rachel just haven't ignored.
I feel good though in these.
I feel smarter. In theater and Glee, I mean, there's lots of jealousy here in the theater. So
yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's so Glee here.
Okay, let's all relax. Stick around because after this, we're going to take a trip to Russia. Welcome back to the Box Score. A couple weeks ago, we had a quiz to get you ready for the hockey season, and we only talked about Swedish hockey players, so we're going to broaden your horizon. We're going to do the time-honored game of is it a vodka or is it a Russian hockey player? This is row versus row, and there are no steals. We will start with the front row. Your name is Kulikov. Kulikov, vodka or NHL?
Kulikov. Man, that sounds like a cheap vodka.
Sure sounds like a very expensive.
Igor Kulikov.
Yeah.
Played for Vancouver back in the 80s. He may have a son. We're going to go hockey player.
You're absolutely correct. It's NHL, Dmitry Kulikov, Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Back row, Yakupov. Yakupov, vodka or NHL?
I think that's a vodka.
So do I. I don't think that's a hockey player. I've never heard of that person, but there's, I'm sure, plenty of hockey players we haven't heard from.
Yeah,
let's go vodka.
Vodka.
I'm sorry, it is NHL player Nail Yakupov, Edmonton Oilers. Front row, Zarskaya, served on ice or plays on ice? Zarskaya.
That's got to be served on ice, right? How many different vodkas can Russia have? that we. I mean, I guess a lot.
I'm gonna go Smirnoff the board and say that's a vodka.
Oh, da, it is a vodka.
We're gonna get this one.
Bekro can't believe your luck on this one. Davgen. Davgen, vodka or NHL?
Davgen.
Landon Davgen.
My family's from Russia. We're still running from the Cossacks. I'm going to say...
vodka.
I think vodka.
Da, it is a vodka. Davgen.
Yeah, all right, we got one.
Served in cheap martinis everywhere. Front row, Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky, vodka or NHL?
Oh, that's got to be NHL.
Yeah, Butch Bobrovsky. He goes by something else, but we call him Butch. He's an NHL player.
Absolutely correct. Sergei Bobrovsky, Columbus Blue Jackets.
Right, Butch.
Circling drain, your hopes go down drain. Back row, Moskovskaya.
Yes, there is.
Moskovskaya, served on ice or plays on ice.
Still thinking vodka.
You're really a vodka.
What's his answer vodka for the last four?
Let's go with vodka then. Wait. Is he the winger on the Maple Leafs?
No, he's not.
Okay, he's a vodka.
Da, it is a delicious vodka. The winning row is front row. Can't believe your luck.
What about Ted Grey Goose?
Ted Grey Goose. Your hopes down the drain. Okay, we circled down the drain after
Can I have
this.
a Bobovskaya and tonic?
We are gearing up
Blow off the...
after these messages for World Series. Royals.
Who do I want to win? I guess for the ambiance there, Kansas City Royals. But then, you know, I love Bruce Bochy. And I love that ballpark. I love that city. I'm going 7 games, 9th inning, Kansas City Royals.
Welcome back to the Box Score. The Fall Classic starts today, and since I'm a Royals fan, I haven't had too many chances to go see any games. I think the last time they were in, I was in my 3rd year in law school and was just starving hand to mouth. Seton, your Yankees have had a pretty good run. Have you ever been to a World Series game?
Never. Not once in my whole life have I ever been to a World Series game. Which is why, you know, today we almost had the poll question, would you rather go to a World Series game or watch the Super Bowl from home? And I would have taken the World Series game, barely, just so I could go to a World Series game. That seems like a pretty cool thing, but...
I don't understand. The Yankees have been in, what, like 8 World Series since 1996.
Tickets aren't cheap, though.
Yeah, no,
It's crazy expensive.
You know, I didn't... You know, both of my parents were civil servants, and then I was a mailman and a security guard. Yeah. You know, post
2009. They were in.
So,
we were on the show in 2009, and they were in the series.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I still didn't really have a whole bunch of dough, and it's not like the Yankees are throwing over tickets to the World Series
Yeah.
for us. So
You're saying
unless somebody's going to give them to me for free, I don't have the money to buy them.
Let's make a deal here. Let's make a deal here. If any of our 4 teams, McLovin, you're Phillies, right?
Phillies, yeah.
I'm Cubs, Seton's Yankees, Fritzy's Astros.
I'll be waiting
you
a
can
while.
sit this one out. I can too. We will ask one of the 2 teams for 1 credential for 1 game for that team, and one of us gets to go, and we'll find a way to get the guy to go.
Okay, well, let's get right to prediction time, shall we? Tell us who's going to win and in how many games. Paulie, start us off.
I'm going to go, I'm going to go Royals in 5.
McLovin, what do you think of that?
Ooh, I'm going to go with Royals in 7, just because Dan is really hot on his predictions, and I'm going to copy the boss.
Seton.
Royals in 6.
And Fritzy.
I've got Royals in 6 as well. That's what I was thinking when you first posed the question. I don't think it's going to go 7, and I like KC to take it.
All right, I'm going to go with Royals in 4. Why not? I mean, why not? I mean, I think my Royals shirt arrived in the mail today. Okay, Fritzy, who's on tomorrow?
We may hear from Giants broadcaster John Miller, not official just yet, and a lot of stuff out there right now. We've got an open board.
You got a maybe John Miller, huh?
Bring your ideas, bring your suggestions. We are wide open for Wednesday. But we have
the
Brady
best
Quinn.
booker in the biz.
We have Brady Quinn and
Coming
Rich
up with a
Eisen
big
coming
whoop.
on Thursday.
Oh, good luck to all those bookings.
It's tough following up today's show with an 0 for 5.
Oh, okay. Thanks for watching the Box Score. Set your DVR or tune in weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern only on Audience Channels 239. And then you can also catch the podcast available on iTunes or at podcast1.com. Good luck to both teams tonight. How about that?
I don't know a lot about sports, but I can drink a lot of beer. My motto is simple. C's get degrees.
Need a long, inappropriate hug? I'm your man.
I think I'm smarter than you because I probably am.
Hey, thanks for watching the Box Score. Holy cow!
This was a presentation of DirecTV, exclusive home of the Red Zone channel, the Fantasy Zone, the Dan Patrick Show, 20 years of NFL Sunday Ticket, the Rich Eisen Show, and America's premier source for sports television.